Imagine the smell of hot copper, dust, and sweat. It is August, 216 BC. The fields of Cannae are silent. On the ground lie 80,000 Roman soldiers, dead. This is the bloodiest single day of combat in human history. Standing over the slaughter is one man. Hannibal Barca. In our timeline, Hannibal hesitated. He chose not to march on the Roman capital, a decision that allowed Rome to breathe, rebuild, and ultimately destroy his homeland. But not today. Today, Hannibal turns his war elephants toward the gates of Rome. Picture the panic in the streets. The Senate scrambles. Children scream. The legendary stone walls that stood for centuries, crumble under the relentless siege of Carthaginian engines. The city is breached. The Tiber runs red. Hannibal does not just conquer Rome, he erases it. The temples of Jupiter are pulled down. The great Senate house is burned to ash. The very word Roman is outlawed, cast into the shadows of forgotten history. Now, let the dominoes fall. Without Rome, the entire trajectory of human civilization takes a sharp, violent left turn. Think about the world you live in today. The languages you speak. The religion you practice. The laws of your country. Almost all of them are built on Roman concrete. Remove the foundation, and the entire structure of modern life collapses into dust. Let us start with the words coming out of your mouth. If Rome is destroyed, the Latin language dies in its infancy. There is no French, no Spanish, no Italian, no Portuguese. Even English, heavily shaped by Latin, ceases to exist. Instead, picture yourself walking the streets of a modern metropolis, speaking a modern descendant of Phoenician. A Semitic language, rich with deep guttural sounds, related to Hebrew and Arabic. This becomes the language of global science, internet culture, and international business. You do not write in Latin letters. You write in an evolved Phoenician script, reading from right to left. But the linguistic shift is nothing compared to the spiritual earthquake that follows. Without a Roman Empire to conquer Judea, build a network of paved roads, and eventually adopt Christianity as its state religion, the teachings of a carpenter from Nazareth remain a localized, obscure sect. It never spreads to Europe. It never becomes a global force. Instead, the ancient gods of Carthage sail across the oceans. Imagine standing on the shores of what we call France or Britain. You do not see churches with steeples. You see massive, open-air sanctuaries dedicated to Baal Hammon, the lord of the sun, and Tanit, the heavenly goddess of fertility. The religious calendar is dictated not by saints' days, but by the cycles of the moon and the arrival of trading fleets. And yes, the dark rumors of Carthaginian ritual sacrifice. Would a global Carthaginian empire have modernized and abandoned these ancient, bloody practices? Or would the smoke of sacred fires still rise over modern city parks, offering tribute to the gods of the deep? And that is when the true nature of this new world reveals itself. Because Carthage was not Rome. Rome was obsessed with territory. They wanted land, roads, and soldiers. They wanted to conquer you, tax you, and force you to become Roman. Carthage did not care about your land. They cared about your wallet. Carthage was a nation of merchants, sailors, and bankers. Their empire was not built on legionaries marching down stone highways, but on massive wooden quinqueremes dominant on the open seas. If Carthage wins, the world bypasses the dark ages of feudalism entirely. There are no kings locked in stone castles ruling over starving peasants. Instead, the world is carved up by massive, multinational merchant syndicates. Imagine a world of hyper-capitalism, established 2,000 years ahead of schedule. Instead of countries, we have trade zones. The Mediterranean is a massive, unified free trade highway. Carthaginian ships, driven by the search for new markets, sail past the Pillars of Hercules much earlier than Columbus ever did. They venture north to tap the tin mines of Britain, south around the Cape of Africa, and eventually, west. Picture a Carthaginian fleet emerging from the Atlantic fog, anchoring off the coast of a pristine, untouched continent. They do not arrive with conquistadors looking for land to conquer in the name of a king. They arrive with ledgers, scales, and trade goods. They meet the empires of the Americas, the Maya, the Aztecs, the ancestors of the Inca not as conquerors, but as trading partners. The exchange of technology, crops, and ideas happens through commerce, not genocide. But do not mistake this for a peaceful utopia. A world ruled by merchants is a world ruled by the bottom line. In Carthage, warfare was not a matter of patriotic duty, it was a business expense. They did not fight their own battles, they hired mercenaries. Numidian cavalry, Iberian swordsmen, Celtic warriors. In this alternate timeline, global wars are fought not for national pride or religious ideology, but for market share. Imagine corporate wars waged by private mercenary armies, centuries before the invention of the gun. The value of human life is calculated strictly in gold shekels. And what of science and technology? Without the Roman obsession with heavy stone architecture and military siegecraft, the Industrial Revolution might have happened differently. Carthage excelled in astronomy, navigation, and metallurgy. Their shipyards were marvels of mass production, capable of assembling a warship in a matter of days using prefabricated parts. A Carthaginian world would have pushed the boundaries of steam, navigation, and mechanics far earlier, driven by the endless hunger for faster trade routes. By the year 1000, steam-powered ironclads might have been crossing the Atlantic, guided by highly advanced Phoenician compasses. But every empire has its expiration date. Eventually, the vast trade networks of Carthage would face internal rot. Mercenaries demand more pay. Local populations tire of being treated as mere balance sheets. Perhaps a great rebellion rises in the east, or a new power emerges from the steppes of Asia. But when Carthage finally falls, it does not leave behind stone ruins of colosseums and aqueducts. It leaves behind a deeply interconnected, globalized world of trade, finance, and seafaring tradition. So, look around you. Look at the device in your hand. Look at the harbor of your nearest coastal city. If Hannibal had marched on Rome, the world you know would be unrecognizable. The Western world would not look to the legacy of Italy, but to the shores of North Africa. What do you think? Would a world ruled by merchants have been more peaceful than one ruled by Roman legions? Or would corporate empires have been even more ruthless? Tell us in the comments below. If you want to keep exploring the hidden paths of history and mythology, hit that subscribe button, and join us for the next journey into the ultimate What IFS. Until next time.